On the news, Nigerians hold #EndSARS Memorial at Lekki Toll Plaza as pro-government group counters protest in Abuja. Again, federal government denies killing at Lekki Toll Gate. And Russia hosts Taliban, calls for inclusive Afghan government. It's great to have you join us on News Now. I am Oyi Adekunle. Protesters took to the streets today in some parts of the country to commemorate the first-year anniversary of the #EndSARS protest that rocked the entire nation in October 2020. Tagged the EndSARS Memorial, activists, celebrities and other aggrieved youths stormed the Lekki Toll Gate in a car procession to demand justice for the alleged killing of peaceful protesters and end to police brutality in the country. Our correspondent Simisola Adigun was there and now reports.
It's been a year since one of the biggest protests in Nigeria's recent history took place. The #EndSARS protest against police brutality culminated into the alleged shooting of peaceful protesters at the Lekki Toll Gate in Lagos on October 20, 2020, a date which will not be forgotten in a hurry. As early as 8 a.m., youths in Lagos again took to the Lekki Toll Gate, this time in a car procession, to honor the protesters who died during the demonstrations exactly 1 year ago. Led by the conveners of the movement, Folarin Falana-Falz and Debo Adebayo, also known as Mr. Macaroni, the protesters chanted their demands while waving the national flag and honking car horns under the watchful eyes of security operatives.
Nigeria is good for the police, Nigeria is good for the army. So if the police can treat us right, we all should be living together in one accord. They are not supposed to be killing us.
We came out, they shot us here, 20th of October 2020. I want to there that they was shot. We are here. We came here, we never die here. We came in peace.
We are remembering our victims of the EndSARS that got shot here at this toll gate. Because till date, justice has not prevailed. But we will not forget, we will keep demanding for justice.
Lawyer to some of the protesters, Adeshina Ogulano, was also on ground to ensure the peaceful conduct of the procession.
The police say you can't protest, no, that is wrong. But when you protest, do not impinge on the rights of other people, do not injure other people, do not harass other people, do not frustrate other people. And it's doable. And that's why I've been working with the police to ensure that the motorcade style that I've used, it should be moving.
Hours later, what started out as a peaceful action quickly took a different turn as the police arrested some protesters and fired tear gas, claiming the protest had been hijacked by miscreants. Commissioner of Police Hakeem Odumosu said that amongst those arrested were journalists who had not been properly identified.
I was told that one of them is a journalist. He was not with ID card as at that time. He didn't identify himself. So now that somebody called me identifying, I said he should be released. Only two, to the best of my knowledge. And one was recording. And so they said claimed to be a journalist. And I've told my men, anybody recording you, go ahead. We are public servants.
According to the Commissioner of Police, these guys who were arrested are miscreants, and that if at all they are protesters, they have gone against the 3 rules guarding the car procession that was to take place today, one of which was that the activity was to hold between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Anything beyond that time was against the rules. Secondly, no gathering is allowed. Third, it was a drive-through action. Anything beyond these 3 rules is against the conditions guarding the protest. Simisola Adigun, TV360, Lagos.
More than a year after the #EndSARS protest brought all social and economic activities to a halt in the country, residents of Abuja are back to the streets to demand justice for the victims of police brutality. However, a group known as Vanguard for Justice disagrees with the protest, condemning it as politically motivated and an attempt to seize power through unconstitutional means. Anita Patrick has the details.
The scene which played out here at the Unity Fountain is a replica of last year's event. This time, the protest is to commemorate the one-year anniversary of the protest and also draw attention to the plight of over 300 protesters languishing in various prisons across the country, as well as seek justice for the dead and the wounded. The protesters initially met stiff opposition from the Nigerian police when they attempted to move to the Federal Secretariat, but decided later to anchor at the Unity Fountain. Human rights activist Omoyele Shore called for justice for victims of police brutality, as well as Nigerians who were allegedly killed at the Lekki toll gate last year.
We are not just here for memorial. We are also here to commemorate one of the greatest rebellions of the last 20 years in this country against an insensitive and incompetent and wicked regime who are calling themselves Democrats. And we have no option, Nigerians, than to just say we are tired of a system that doesn't work for us.
Other protesters also demand justice for the young Nigerians, whom they describe as the future of the country.
We are here to remind the government and draw attention that many of our comrades who were detained have not yet been released. We are here again to reassure and reawaken the consciousness of the looter spirit of the EndSARS.
We shall continue to make this demand until we see liberation.
Yes.
We need justice in Nigeria.
Yes.
We need justice for all citizens.
Justice for all.
Justice for the law.
Justice for all.
For the right.
Justice
we need
for all.
justice for every citizen.
Justice for all.
This country belongs to all of us.
Yes.
We must begin to treat all Nigerians as one.
However, another group known as the Vanguard for Justice has a different view to the protest.
The fundamental fact is that nobody was killed. If there's anybody that was killed at that material point in time, the person or his family must have come forward with a claim. The entire EndSARS struggle was hijacked by political elements who wanted an unconstitutional change of government.
Anita Patrick, TV360 Nigeria.
At the peak of the #EndSARS protest in October 2020, the protesters made 5 specific demands which were accepted by the government. They include the release of arrested protesters, justice for victims, the creation of an independent body to oversee prosecution of erring officers, psychological evaluation of the disbanded officers, and increase of police salaries. But a year after, protesters are back to demand full implementation of these demands. But joining us now to shed more light on this development is security consultant Reverend Ladi Thompson. Thank you very much for joining us on News Now. Now, 1 year after, what has changed? How well do you think that the government has implemented the 5-point demands of the EndSARS protesters?
Let me answer you by quoting a proverb that is very common in, quote, Yoruba land. There's a saying that says, which means when you have elders in the market, we don't allow young mothers to back children in a way that would jeopardize their health. Now, I want us to stop this silliness. We need to stop all this silliness. You see, last year, those children carried a baton. It's like a relay race. What they were protesting goes deeper than EndSARS. We have a systemic problem in the country. Those children were brave. They did what they had to do. The system responded. My challenge right now is it that we don't have any elders in this country? We don't have statesmen who can collate and realize that it is not a matter of implementing 5 or 6 steps. It's a systemic problem. After 1,000 years, a lie does not become a truth. After 1,000 years, a failure does not automatically become a success. If you lay a foundation that is faulty, a foundation for a bungalow, and you try to build a skyscraper on it, you're going to have the problems that we're having all the time. So I want to say something to you. It's time for Nigeria to rise to the stature of being the giant of Africa, the titan of West Africa. And please, let us have mercy on the lives of these children, because this whole thing is going to end up a jamboree if we don't take a more intelligent approach to it, by looking at it from a strategic perspective, to realize that the problem is systemic. And what is at the foundation of the problem is that the value of human worth has to be redefined as we reprogram this country completely. Or else, it's just going to become a circus. And that will not help the younger generations. That's not going to help the older generations. It's not going to help Nigeria. And it's not going to be of any value whatsoever to Africa as a continent.
All right, so let's look at some of these demands now. I know that you have said that this is a systemic problem, but we look at some of the demands. I mean, release of some of the NSAS protesters, justice for the deceased victims, and of course the setting up of independent body. For instance, we've seen states set up judicial, the panel of inquiry. We saw Lagos State after a year just wound down activities about some days ago. So will you say that these demands have not been met?
What I'm saying again and again is there's a principle that says that the greater contains the lesser. I'm saying that these young people have been very brave. They took certain steps. They were able to sustain some activity for a while. Maybe there was a political hijack or not, or whatever it is. But I'm saying to you that when a nation is in the middle of a life-threatening war, when a nation has an economy that is going, that is, shooting beyond the, the skies, when a nation has life-threatening diseases, you don't leave a cancer patient who also has Ebola and then begin to talk about curing, malaria fever. I'm saying to you that all these demands you are making is just 5 out of about 5,000. And any intelligent country, by now, especially the elders of the country, the statesmen in the country, need to realize that the present system will not produce anything. The political...
I'm afraid, Reverend Ladi Thompson, I know you can go on and you have a lot to say, but I'm afraid this way we just have to leave it for time purpose. Thank you so much for joining us on News Now. Well, Amnesty International Nigeria has called for the prosecution of security forces involved in the brutal crackdown of the #NSAS protesters in Abuja, Lagos, and other parts of the country. While urging the government to reform the police force, stakeholders said identifying cases of extrajudicial executions, torture, and ill treatment must be thoroughly investigated and culprits brought to justice to curb human rights violations and plug deficiencies in policing practices.
The reforms that Nigerians were looking for have not been addressed. You could see that the same personnel that were involved in the SAS are the same personnel that are being retained in the police, which means that nobody has been sanctioned, nobody has been punished, nobody has been warned for all the brutality and atrocity they committed. That's number one. Number two, even the reforms we are looking for in terms of the security personnel, in terms of promotion, in terms of the welfare of the security so that they can be motivated and do the right thing, has not been carried out. Again, you could see that the corruption, the unemployment, the lack of or total deficit of governance at local, state, and national level has not also been addressed. So the NSAS protest is accumulative, of various, deficiencies and anger and frustration and maladministration in the country.
Crimes have been committed. Who committed those crimes? Those answers are still remaining unanswered. No one has been prosecuted. People fired shots. Even if those shots, for the sake of arguments, were fired in the air, who are these people that fired those shots? Who gave the orders? Who are the people who received these bodies? How were they cared for? For the families that have loved ones that are still missing, for bodies that have not been claimed, who are these bodies? These are bodies of human beings. What are we doing to address the issue to make sure it doesn't happen again? The answer to those questions are no.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has again said there is no proof that any protester was killed at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos State. The minister, at a media briefing in Abuja, also demanded an apology from Amnesty International, cable news network CNN, and Obianuju Ude, popularly known as DJ Switch, for misleading the world that there was a massacre at the Lekki toll gate on October 20, 2020. He insisted that the only shooting was in the social media, hence there were neither bodies nor blood.
We are once again reiterating what we said a year ago, that one, the military did not shoot at protesters at the Lekki toll gate on October 20th, 2020, and there was no massacre at the toll gate. The only massacre recorded was in the social media. Hence, there were neither bodies nor blood. 2. Amnesty International, CNN, and Runaway DJ and others like them should apologize for misleading the world that there was a massacre at the Lekki toll gate and for portraying the Nigerian military, police, and other security agencies in bad light. 3. CNN acted unprofessionally by relying on unverified and possibly doctored social media videos, as well as other open source information, to conclude that the massacre took place at the toll gate.
Away from the NSAS protest now, President Muhammadu Buhari has thanked Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for opening his country's borders to accommodate millions of refugees in dire need of humanitarian support. Speaking at a joint press conference on the occasion of the official visit of the Turkish leader to Nigeria, President Buhari said his Turkish counterpart has set an example to the rest of the world on how to treat refugees. President Buhari further described the two-day visit of President Erdogan and the First Lady Emine Erdogan as a reflection of the robust, warm and cordial bilateral relation between Nigeria and Turkey.
We shall be celebrating the 60th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between our two nations. And Nigeria hosts one of the oldest diplomatic missions of the Republic of Turkey on the African continent. Nigeria is one of the outstanding members of international organizations such as the D8, OIC, ECOWAS, and the African Union, as well as being one of the most leading countries of both this region and the rest of the world. Nigeria became our most outstanding and the biggest trade partner in the sub-Saharan Africa. In order to cooperate further in the fields of military, defense, and security, we are doing everything that will be available. The perpetrator of the heinous failed coup of July the 15th, FETO, is still illegally active in Nigeria. And we are continuously sharing our intelligence with the Nigerian interlocutors and authorities.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, Nigeria's Super Falcons get the better of the Black Queens of Ghana as 2022 AFCON qualifiers begin. We'll bring you details of that and more after this break. Thank you for staying with us on News Now. Here's a quick reminder of some of our top stories tonight. Protesters took to the streets today in some parts of the country to commemorate the first-year anniversary of the #NSAS protest that rocked the entire nation in October last year. Tagged the #NSAS Memorial, activists, celebrities and other aggrieved youths stormed the Lekki toll gate in a car procession to demand justice for the alleged killing of peaceful protesters and also call for an end to police brutality in the country. However, a group known as Vanguard for Justice disagrees with the protest, condemning it as politically motivated and an attempt to seize power through unconstitutional means. And we also told you that the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says there is no proof that any protester was killed at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos State in October 2020. The minister at a media briefing in Abuja also demanded an apology from Amnesty International, Cable News Network CNN, and Obianuju Ude, popularly known as DJ Switch, for misleading the world that there was a massacre at the Lekki toll gate on October 20, 2020. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're TV360 Online. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered a week-long paid holiday across the country to curb COVID-19 infections, saying it is a tough but necessary measure to protect the lives of citizens. During a televised meeting, Putin announced that he has approved a government plan to declare a non-working week across the country from October 30th, as Russia registered a record 1,028 coronavirus deaths in a single day. Infection rates have soared in recent weeks amid a stalled vaccination campaign, with only 35% of the country fully inoculated, despite several widely available vaccines, including Sputnik V. Putin said he was surprised by how many Russians were refusing the vaccine and urged citizens to show responsibility and get vaccinated. Well, we'll take another pause here and return with business news. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Now up next is business news with Mary Kanu. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Oyin. And now in business, stakeholders in the oil and gas sector have been charged to work together to ensure a smooth takeoff and implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act. The National President, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengensen, Festus Osifo, made the call at the 6th Triennial Branch Delegates of the Department of Petroleum Resources of Pengensen. Osifo explained that the PIA puts the nation at the front burner of industry growth, adding that it makes each industry accountable for its operations. In his remarks, Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, who praised President Muhammadu Buhari for the feat, said the frontier oil exploration will be in favor of all geopolitical zones.
We are supposed to unlock investments in the oil and gas sector and open the windows of opportunities for investors and especially for Nigerians. Because that is the direction that we have to go in order to arrive. And with the emergence of more structured industries, it must offer a level playing ground in order to improve our FDI, which is exactly, again, the direction that we have when we're talking about business and the opportunities. It will also bring about development to boost the communities through the allocation, through direct allocation to the various communities.
We should channel our energy today into production of the crude oil reserves that we have. Because if we continuously produce crude oil the way we are doing today at 2 million barrels per day, and we say we have approximately 37 billion barrel reserves, let's assume that we could only produce half of it. When you check, if we continue at 2 million barrels per day, it's going to take us several years for us to be able to produce the crude oil reserves that we have. So that means that we should be thinking, how do we fast track? If we don't do that quickly, we are going to be caught in the trap of energy transition. If we don't do that quickly, we are going to fall into the web of what happened to our coal. That today our coal is trapped in the ground and nobody is really interested.
Well, we'll take a break here and return with a review of the stock market. Just stay with us. The bull made a strong comeback to the equities market from losses recorded in previous traded sessions as the benchmark performance index and market capitalization both recorded an uptick of 0.26%. Now, this is something to talk about. A whopping 55 billion naira was added to the value of listed equities, all thanks to the market giants Nigerian Exchange Group and GlaxoSmithKline, alongside 21 other equities that participated in trading. Now, on the flip side, we see that 18 equities alongside Prestige and Consolidated Hallmark Insurance recorded the most losses. Now, a look at the activity chart sees over 5 billion naira worth of shares were traded, and this made up for the drop in the overall volume of transactions. Now, moving on to our global scene, we see that it is a bullish trading day for these selected foreign stocks as the UK, US and Asian stocks are all trading higher, boosted by advances from different equities. UK stock FTSE is currently trading in the green at 0.077%. US stock Dow Jones is currently trading at 0.45%, helped by gains from Tesla and Netflix as the market giants approach all-time highs. Meanwhile, Asian stock Nikkei is currently trading in the greens at 0.14%. Well, that's all on the review of the stock market. Only back to you now.
Thank you for that update, Mary. We'll move on now to the foreign scene, where after a warning by the Russian government that Islamic State fighters were converging on Afghanistan, officials from 10 countries, including China and Pakistan, are attending a meeting with representatives of the Taliban. The talks mark one of the Taliban's most significant international meetings since it assumed control of Afghanistan. At the conference in Moscow, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov emphasized that forming an inclusive government is necessary to achieve a stable peace in Afghanistan. The Taliban's Deputy Prime Minister Abdul Salam Hanafi also noted that the extremist group did not pose any security threat to any other country and asked the international community to recognize its government, which no nation has done so far. Well, up next is Entertainment Report on News Now.
Former Big Brother Naija housemate Licorice has opened up about what inspired her to participate in the 6th season of the highly coveted reality show. During an interview, Licorice made it clear that seeking financial stability was a major deciding factor for her. The young lady, who is also a popular dancer with over 700k followers, before the house explained that many people only saw the huge online following but had no idea that she was struggling financially. Licorice emerged as the first runner-up of the BB Naija Season 6 Shine Your Eye edition. It's a moment of joy and celebration for Nigerian singer Davido and his former lover Chioma as they get to witness the second birthday celebration of their son Ifeanyi. They both showered accolades on the birthday boy in their respective official Instagram account. In his adorable birthday pictures, Ifeanyi was allowed to tap into his Yoruba roots as the little boy rocked an outfit made from the traditional Ashoke material. Happy birthday to Ifeanyi. Nigerian writer and director Jamila Dankoro has premiered The Days to Follow, a 2D animated short film in honor of the victims of the 2020 EndSARS protests. The Days to Follow tells the story of two sisters whose lives are forever changed after they attend the #EndSARS protest. According to the film director, she chose the medium of animation to tell the story because she wanted the playfulness of the colors to cut through the weighty message. Also, her goal was to tell a story that caused people around the world to remember the event while not evoking trauma. And that is all that we have for you in the entertainment segment of News Now.
In sports, Uchenna Kanu's brace made the difference in the first leg encounter of the African Women Championship qualifier between the Super Falcons of Nigeria and the Black Queens of Ghana. The match, which was played at the Mobalaji Johnson Arena, Onikon in Lagos, saw the Black Queens take the fight to the Falcons, but were unlucky to get a single goal at the end of the day. The winner of this match is up when the second leg is played on Sunday in Accra. Ghana will progress to the next round of the qualifier as teams jostle for a slot in the African Women Championship, which will be hosted in Morocco in 2022. That's the size of our bulletin this evening. We thank you very much for watching. I am Onyi Adekunle.